I said to John here that DMT is haram. But
you said you didn't know, but you took it from him that it was.
No, as in for recreational purposes.
Okay.
Yeah, and but I don't.
I defined it as well. I haven't taken DMT, but I'm saying that if you take DMT not for recreational purpose, but as effectively accessing alternative routes of knowledge, that's not recreation. So
I would never turn around and say something as potent and powerful as DMT to be a recreational drug anyway.
Okay, so there you go.
I'd say it's more medicine than it is.
Okay.
Just saying.
You regret that, did you?
That's my opinion.
I'm confused. I'm actually confused.
He just said
No. The reason why it's confused.
I'm actually
the reason why it's confused is because the statement I just made is kind of a direct statement. What I said to him is that it's a form of cheating as well, because we're talking from a spiritual point of view. But DMT has been proven to basically stop people being addicted to stuff. That's then therefore medication.
Well, that's one.
So you can't say it's totally haram.
It's been
recreational.
It's amoral. No. It's amoral. It was not designed to stop addiction. It may
no, that's exactly what it's doing for.
No. It may be used. That's a different matter. We've covered all these things.
If you're referring to the people in the Amazon rainforests that have found ayahuasca, things like that, they say that the sky gods taught them how to do it.
Yeah.
So therefore, you can put a kind of religious ceremony to it, which would then go back to what he was saying. So because we can't prove that it's from Allah, we have to assume that is a false god, and therefore it's spiritual. If all the Amazonian people said that sky gods came down and taught them how to use ayahuasca, i.e. to cure them of certain problems, because what they say is you go through something called a purge, where you bring up a load of crap from the system, right? That therefore could be a form of worship.
Well, you're saying you're saying it, but Allah provided those sky gods. If those sky gods are true, then
No, the sky gods are not true.
No, wait.
But for example, alcohol is natural.
Just because the terminology is sky gods doesn't mean they're actual gods, right? This is just the terminology by the Amazonians. So it's not saying that it's got. These could be alien beings, right? So we mustn't get lost with terminology, or even what terminology people use, depending what they mean. But the issue is what makes it haram.
He's a sharp guy.
So DMT is meant to be part of our makeup. So we've got DMT in us, and when we die, the idea is that it's released. It's either the released or we get in touch with the messages that the experience of that drug. So the answer is you don't know.
I mean, okay. So for example,
you said no. What was your reasoning?
I was assuming recreation. I didn't realise it could be.
That's what I assumed.
There's honestly, I don't see ayahuasca being used as a recreational drug.
Is in your ignorance is bad, knowledge is good. Take some DMT.
No, because one thing we could do in Islam is if something, things are halal, which is clear, things which are haram is clear, but if there's something grey, you should stay away from it.
Something
grey, we don't know.
But it's not grey. What's grey about it? Is that God's work?
I need to look into it more.
The intention is knowledge, not fun.
No, but okay, wait, Mike. How can there be an intention of knowledge with this stuff?
There is no intention.
No.
There's no guarantee.
No. I didn't say guarantee. I said intention. If you take DMT, the intention of knowledge.
He ain't gonna have a clue what you're talking about.
Well,
I don't.
Well, I'm asking him. The thing is, I don't know. It's always a good answer.
Here, the best thing is to plead ignorance, but you're saying I should try it, and I'm saying no.
Okay, so I'm saying, you said ignorance earlier, you missed this. Ignorance is bad, knowledge is good. Suboor here is saying, I'm more for ignorance.
Well, no, that's not quite what I said. Look, when it comes to the people who are saying knowledge through DMT, I would say, well, what type of knowledge are they gaining?
Well, yeah.
That's a good
What
question.
If, yeah, that is a big question.
If someone says, well, you want ignorance of this knowledge, I'll say, yes, I want ignorance of that. I don't want that.
You've already stated you want ignorance of the knowledge before you've even considered what that knowledge is.
Okay, I don't know how to respond to that.
Well, look, I can respond to that because we all know, we all have pasts, right? No judgment.
Is there if there is time?
Oh, exactly. But I mean, the way you phrased the question to him, and the way that I would, as someone who's experienced what you're talking about, I would turn around and say that he doesn't necessarily need to go that way.
You're the arbiter
because he's. I wouldn't necessarily put it in arbiter, but I would turn around and say that if you're already on your path and you're set on your path, then there's no reason to alter it.
Well, Suboor's path cannot be altered through taking DMT, surely.
Well, you don't. No one can guarantee anything. You don't know
it's
who
scary.
you're doing.
So you're saying that this could take him away from
No,
Allah?
no, okay. I'll give you one answer which I was just thinking of now. In Islam, worship is not just intentional, but it's also something that has to be defined by what Islam says is permissible. Now, this thing does sound like people used it for worship. So we shouldn't go near something from another civilization or culture which they define as worship.
Have you ever been to a Christian church?
Yes.
Well, you've just contradicted
No, but
yourself.
I no.
Going somewhere near a place of worship of an
but
idol.
No, actively
part.
participating.
I like the way you
Actively
went with that.
participating.
Even I got to stick up to
So
support
you
on that
could
one.
take the drug, but not actively participate. You could have visualizations, but you don't need to.
Have you tried it?
No.
Why not?
My dad just haven't had the opportunity, or
Haven't made the opportunity, is what you meant.
well, I didn't even know
Yeah.
that's what the opportunity. Have you got any left?
That would be assuming I did it. I wasn't here in this country.
But it's interesting, isn't it? There is a place. There are drugs that allow you to access aspects of mind, and people, and it's basically psychedelic is the idea of soul, right? It's the,
Okay, from an Islamic perspective, the knowledge that I need for my spiritual well-being is in the Quran and the Sunnah. That's my source. So why would I need psychedelics or LSD or these types of things?
Yeah.
And those things are very similar to alcohol, heroin.
in contrast to science, which is an exploration of the unknown, in contrast to science, which is the explanation of the exploration of the unknown, what you're saying is that your religion puts boundaries around even your desire for alternative experience. It's basically saying, I've got everything I need, I worship Allah, everything is Allah's will.
No, I said spiritually. Spiritually. So for example, if I want the experience of skydiving, I want the experience of going to space, I want the experience of discovering a new element or whatever, that's all good. But drugs like defined...
You could say that taking DMT is spiritual, or you could say it is a psychological exploration. So it doesn't have to be spiritual, it's psychological. It could be considered. So you've got everything you need spiritually.
What does it do exactly?
Everything you need that you need from Islam, from a spiritual point of view. So everything else, as long as it's not used in a destructive kind of way, is haram. So you could say, well, this helps me explore the qualities of my mind.
Okay, but that's conditional upon what you said, which is that it's not harmful, it's going to lead you to some beneficial knowledge, and these types of things. And we don't know. Mike doesn't want to talk.
Sorry.
Is it harmful?
I mean, it depends on who you go to.
Go to the
Well, no,
right
the
place.
truth is, if you was to do a simple thing as a Google search, you will come up with videos that show that some people have died during these ceremonies.
Wow.
But I've not heard of people dying taking DMT. I've heard them dying of drinking like a tobacco tea.
The carrier for the DMT is effectively went to a poisonous level, so it's not really the DMT.
We seem to know a lot.
I know a lot about everything. I can't do everything. I've got time.
You have to take into consideration that in terms of exploring to gain knowledge, there's always a risk involved. If you're going to go on a voyage to try and, give charity in an unknown land, that comes with all kinds of danger. DMT so far, specifically, in studies with pure DMT, they haven't found the overdose limit is excessively high. Like you would have to smoke almost your body weight in order to die. It's not really logical.
So but what knowledge have they come back with, the DMT people? Like what?
It's sort of like,
I don't know.
I don't know. The way I would best describe DMT specifically, and many psychedelics, when you get to a certain point, they all sort of lead to that same zone, which is ego dissolution, right? Which is essentially...
So sorry to cut you off. I just remembered something. Mike, you can help me out. You know he said it's haram, yeah?
Sure, I can.
You know about DMT... No, you asked me whether it's haram. Yeah. I just remembered, in Islam, anything that makes you lose your mind is actually...
You're not going to win on that one. I was me the whole experience.
This is a mistake.
Sorry, carry on.
Shall I go back over there?
No, you can stay.
What if it gave you an opportunity to find your mind?
All right, look. I actually said to this brother, right? What if someone?
Sorry, I interrupted him.
Someone was an alcoholic, and they went and did an ayahuasca ceremony, and then weren't an alcoholic afterwards. Is that haram or is that halal?
Bro, what are you doing, man? I have no idea. You're confusing.
Stir it up a bit.
It's a difficult quandary for you.
It is.
Here giving contradictory information.
Yeah.
And the issue is, are you after truth or are you after safety?
Was that truth or safety? I mean, I think safety would probably be best.
That's coming from someone.
After the fact.
It's a medicine like anything else. I'm sure if a Muslim was prescribed medication that, if taken recreationally, could cause an altered state.
No, but do they give it as a medicine though?
Absolutely.
There are trials.
Unfortunately, in this country, it's illegal even as a medicine. So it leaks into that illegal scene whereby people will take it recreationally.
They're taking it recreationally.
If I take psychedelics, I always take it with the intention of healing in mind. It's not something I'm doing to get fucked up. I want to describe how it is different to any other drug in that the ego dissolution I wanted to talk about, which is essentially that you lose sense of your body first, you go into sort of anesthesia, and then your conscious awareness leaves any of your memories or anything that you've had, any idea of your normal everyday life is gone, and you're just sort of it's just pure experience without a body, without a subject and object. You're just it's just the experience. And that experience of just having experience can have medical benefits. Like people that take LSD, I think 60% in a study quit smoking for at least 2 years or something like that, and 80% quit for at least a couple months. I quit smoking using LSD myself. I have gone back since a few times, but I understand how it can help in that direction.
What about just using your willpower, like the ancient system?
That's a good...
Using your will.
You could argue for that, I'm sure.
Actually, interestingly, Alan Carr wrote a book on the only way to stop smoking, and it was not through willpower, it was through deconstruction of false beliefs about the addiction and about smoking. So in fact, willpower always leaves you fighting, when actually, really, I think we need to get into a place in our mind experience of this world of experiences, not simply by will, but through understanding.
That's a really perfect point that you made, though, because that's exactly how I come to Islam in the first place. Deconstruction.
Through deconstruction.
Yeah. If you start experiencing things and you start seeing things in a certain way and you start deconstructing, and you have to accept that if that is the premises of which something is happening in front of your very eyes, and you're experiencing it and you know it to be true, then you have to accept it's true, otherwise you're being ignorant.
I think basically the outcome of all of this is we're starting a DMT club open just
so
for
that's my
Muslims. Open just to Muslims.
Bring back the opium den, but just the DMT.
Anyway, I appreciate your...
Can DMT not be addictive though?
Huh?
Okay, thank you.
Next.
I think the experience is too much. You don't want to go.
Sorry?
I think the experience is too much that you wouldn't want to go back to the same.
Look, if I'm allowed to say, about 90% of the people I went to this ceremony with never went back for another go, and they had paid for it. One experience was enough for them. They'd seen and heard all they needed.
But did you look into the?
I did all three.
You said you was yourself the whole time.
Yeah, 100%.
But you could still consider it your mind is altered. So when you say your mind is still altered in that state.
No. The big, like what he said, the biggest thing to go is your feeling that you have to control and know everything. Because you soon realise you know nothing. That's right.
That's an ego then, right?
Yes. How you doing?
Good, man. In terms of your level of awareness, in terms of your ability to feel as if you're comprehending what's happening and whether or not you know it's real is unaffected. You know, it's as if whatever it feels like it's me was just taken out of me, but that still it feels like it is there. You know, your mind. I would agree that your mind isn't altered. I think it's.
Don't you think it's interesting that we started to discuss this, and you got your colleague Mike to come over, and these two other guys who've had DMT, and this guy who's knowledgeable about DMT, we're all in this little circle. Don't you think
Yeah.
that's a bit interesting?
Yeah, it's very interesting. And he said what I didn't expect.
You say the same.
I was surprised you didn't know I'd actually come along and say that.
No.
I've been wanting to have this conversation for a long time.
So this is, but what I appreciate about you is that you're open to discussion, and it's not just about kind of having the premise of X, Y, and Z. It must follow that. But I think there are alternatives. There are other experiences that you could say are reducing ignorance through knowledge that are potentially positive for the world.
From my understanding, an idea as to the reason that a psychedelic experience has such like a profound impact on your sense of awareness and sort of can have health benefits is because of the reduction in the brain activity. This is something I've come into knowledge of. I don't know how accurate it is. They haven't done many studies, but meditation, people that go deep into meditation report similar experiences to psychedelic experiences.
That's you, isn't it?
And both of the experiences correlate with a decrease in brain activity overall. So, what I would like to say is, if reduction in brain activity can be beneficial, does it matter exactly how it's brought about? Like, if a kid is trying to figure out how to tie his shoelace, you can leave him for like a day and he'll probably figure out a way to do it. Or you can just get in there and tie it for him and then have him watch and he'll be able to do it again. That's how I would explain like a psychedelic experience. So it's sort of like a push
I've got to make a point on that.
Yeah.
Because this is why I've been bugging him for a long time to have a sit down and discuss the subject that we're talking now. And the reason why I say it like that is because I can also see it through the same way that he's interpreting it. Yeah? And it's like, the truth is, you have no idea who it is that's teaching you.
Yeah, that's right.
That information, that knowledge, that experience, everything you're talking about, you don't know who
Or from
that
the
is.
Islamic perspective, it could be the devil.
That's my point.
But this goes back.
It's the
You have no
devil.
idea. Just because 99% of it is
has
great
made a good
doesn't mean
point.
there's not 1% of
That could be destructive.
The brother has made a good point, which links into a conversation that we had before the DMT junction came. Jokes.
Thanks, bro.
Jokes. Is the issue of dopaminergic addiction to outside both the, like Twitter or TikTok or whatever, YouTube, hi guys. So all of this addiction, but we're also addicted to our mind. So if you consider that all these external factors we're addicted to, we're also addicted about how clever we are, what thoughts we have, look at me, and that is what this brother is saying, is actually moving away from that, and maybe some psychedelics kind of pull you out of it, but meditation helps you move away from
People in the past did it without psychedelics.
Yeah, because they were in a more meditative state, right? And you don't know that they didn't use.
I was going to say that's a good point.
You don't know they didn't use psychedelics.
There's theories about Moses and the burning bush.
So exactly.
Being a certain wood.
There's loads of
I can't
mushrooms.
remember the cedar wood.
Wait.
No, not from this line.
This is where meditation ultimately is the safest way. But whilst you are kind of attached to your thoughts and the veracity of those, or the truth of those thoughts, the harder it is to just be in that state of awareness that this brother was saying.
that to show children that's watching. It's the same role.
I reckon Jesus
No,
was a
that was a
stoner.
beautiful bit of quietness.
No, we don't-
there.
we don't
Very
believe
rare.
Yeah.
It's proper disrespect.
Let's
We can't
accept,
say
how
that.
did Jesus or Muhammad write any of that stuff unless they were blasted?
No.
They must have been tapping into something
Yeah,
else.
but that's the assumption.
No.
That's the
Wait,
assumption.
so no.
that-
That's
that the only way to tap in is to do
Look,
ayahuasca or
right,
DMT. There could be a
I'm
method that we don't know
So
about.
good to speak to you.
Yeah, man, it was nice to talk to you.
Yeah. So let's go.
Want to debrief?
But we can have a conversation next week. But I have to go to prayer.
Yeah, man, that's
but
fine.
we don't believe like the prophets or any of the people. It's to do with psychedelics. It was something else. And also psychedelics as a field. I need to look into it
A
more.
little bit more of the meditation
Like
bit.
I don't know too much, so even when I was saying things now, it was just based on my limited knowledge. But in Islam as well, when something's clearly permissible, then something's impermissible.